Hello, everybody. I've always asked myself this question: why is it that popular satirical magazines, like Charlie Hebdo, for example, they can easily get away with mocking any kind of ideology or religion or what have you? Nothing, no repercussions. In fact, our politicians would praise them for it. But when the common man, somebody like me, like my brother Faithful, or anybody else, when we go and we um, trash Islam, when we trash other ideologies that we consider false, okay, and we mock them and we put them in the place, and we would say rightfully so, then all of a sudden, how dare you? We're going to sue you. What is this? Huh? This is what I want to address today. I am sick and tired of this kind of attitude. What is this? An elitist game? So these satirical magazines, because they are millionaires, they have the right to mock religion. But I, Johnny KZJ, I don't have the right to spit on Islam. I don't have the right to draw Muhammad and spit on that symbolically, on that picture. Hmm? I think I should have every right to do so. And this is the problem that I see. Now, I don't know how far that is in the United States, but over here in Germany, a Muslim, if, you go up to a Muslim and you say, hey, I take your Quran and I put it in the garbage bin. Now what do you say? You see? So this is the thing that we want to discuss about. And actually, I wanted to ask you, Brother Faithful, what do you think about this attitude of the politicians, this inconsistency? I know you like that word, inconsistency. That's what I see here. Big time inconsistency and hypocrisy. What do you say?
I mean, I feel that I don't think it's cool. I just think that yeah, I don't understand it. And maybe you can oh, did admin drop out of the phone? Well, anyways, I think it's inconsistent on their part, obviously, and I also feel that um I mean, in fact, I was gonna ask you, Johnny, if you could kind of bring it out a little bit more, you could kind of delve a little bit more, in depth on why you have a huge problem with this. I have a huge problem with it just, due to the fact that if, again, if I mean, I could go into it, but I'd rather you bring it out.
No, no, sure. You go right ahead and ask me anything in regards to that, and I'll try to
By the way, can you send a invite to Peripheral Prophet? He wants to
Oh,
come in
sure,
here.
sure. Let me, in
Did
fact,
admin drop out of the
you
phone
could just
call?
give him the
Or
link.
the,
It
I
will
mean, the
come right.
hangout, I mean? He can't
Yeah.
he can't do it from Skype, so you're gonna have to send him the invite.
Oh, okay, okay. Let me see
Yeah.
here.
Did admin drop out or did
Yes, he did. He did.
okay.
Okay, let me see. Preferred profit. So yeah, go ahead, bro. What was in specific? If you have a question, go right ahead, and I'll try my best to
Well,
respond.
I want to ask you something. How did you feel, for example, during the whole Muslim attack on that newspaper in France? Was it a newspaper that put
Yeah,
out that
was a
satirical
satirical
article?
newspaper,
How
satirical.
did you feel about that as a former Muslim? And then at the same time, I mean, cause you know, I mean, I mean, I mean, how did you feel about it?
Man, of course I felt horrible. But as a former, of course, at the time I was a Muslim, I would have said that this is exactly what they deserve. But today, that's not even the point. The real point is that, you see, when satirical magazines, they do things like that, people even go, the same Merkel, the same Angela Merkel, our prime minister here, or our chancellor, what she did is, she went there along and she mourned over them. That means she felt sorry with them to the extreme. And at the same time, she says, do not discredit Islam. Islam is a religion of peace and what have you. See, the same with David Cameron. David Cameron, on one hand, he says that there's no place in this world for people who mock the Prophet of Islam or who slander the Prophet of Islam, namely Muhammad. But Charlie Hebdo did slander Muhammad in the worst possible way. So why did the same David Cameron then come and kiss their behind? Okay? Why didn't he remain consistent and say, okay, they killed Charlie Hebdo, well, although I don't agree with that, because it's against the law what they did. But yeah, they had it coming. Why didn't he say that? Why didn't he say that the world doesn't belong to Charlie Hebdo and remain consistent? Because maybe he's a double agent. Okay, maybe he wants to play both sides. Who knows? You see? Oh, I did. I did send him the invite. I did do it on Skype. Here, let me do it again. And let me do it. In fact, let me do it over here. So do you understand that? Did you catch that, Brother Faithful?
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to ask me in that regard?
To be honest, this is a subject matter that I'm not well versed in, and I'd like for you to bring out, and you know,
No, but I
because
mean, haven't you noticed this? Let me ask you this. Haven't you noticed that this is what is in America, for example? When you as a common man, you stand up, you draw a picture of Muhammad, and you put your foot on it. I mean, how does the general public react? Do they want to sue you? Do they want to do something to you? What's the case?
I mean, I've never had an issue like that, to be honest. I mean, now we're talking about, you're talking about cartoons here now. When we're talking about the doctrine of Islam,
No, I'm
uh,
talking about cartoons right now. Yeah, I'm talking about drawing a
yeah,
cartoon of Muhammad and
let's see what Peripheral Prophet has. Hey, what's going on, Peripheral Prophet?
What's up, bro?
Hey,
Um, you sound tired, man.
Yeah, it's my birthday, man. I took a little birthday nap.
Oh, today's your birthday?
Yeah.
Oh, happy birthday, bro. Oh man, I didn't know today was your birthday.
I
I didn't
didn't.
either.
Okay.
Oh, you yourself didn't even know. That's interesting.
He's like, I didn't know today was. How are you not gonna know today's your birthday, man?
I didn't really realize it. I forgot. This morning I was up late and my mom came in like, "Happy birthday." I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess it is."
Hey man, happy birthday, brother. We won't say your age live on air, but let's just say that you need a lot of candles now at this point.
I'll tell you this: if you add the two numbers together, it equals 7.
All right. What do you say about this? I mean, have you noticed
Wait,
that?
wait, wait. You gotta. Well, catch him up to speed. What is the topic of the
That's what I'm
hand?
saying. That have you noticed in the United States that the big satirical magazines that they always have the right, or they are even praised when they mock any kind of ideology, religion, what have you, Islam included. But when the common man does it, then all of a sudden, it's a problem.
Um. Yeah. Yeah. Well, what do you mean when you say like when they mock to certain
Like
religions?
the newspaper in Charlie Hebdo, for example, they print newspapers weekly, mocking different kind of religions, drawing cartoons, in a very, very what would be considered disgusting fashion,
Yeah.
like naked, doing something with one and doing with another, having all these kinds of things going on. As you probably know, when a satirical magazine, they make fun of stuff, like when they make fun of the Pope, and things like that, But these people are even praised, by the politicians when they do such things. But imagine me going in the street in front of a Muslim and even drawing Muhammad with a bomb strapped on his head, let alone him being naked and all that other extreme stuff.
Yeah.
The same politicians are going to say, "Hey, you're a scumbag, Johnny, for doing that."
I think
How's
they
that?
have
Why don't they
some.
praise me? Why don't they say, "Johnny, you have done great in memory of Charlie Hebdo"? Why?
Yeah, I don't know, man. The media is something else, man. I don't know. They stir up so much crap. Um, yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, this is what I want to find. Maybe you have something. Can you think of some reason why they have this inconsistency?
Um, I mean, yeah, I have like a theory, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how sound it is. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like they
just
almost
let it
enjoy
out.
stirring people up, you know? Like I don't know.
Oh, you mean the politicians like to stir people up?
Well, yeah, create a little controversy, keep people busy, give them something to talk about, you know?
Yeah, but then why don't they enjoy when I, as a common man, I go out and do the same?
Um, well, I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah. Hey, Benny the gangster, how are you doing? Maybe you would like to add something about this, Benny. Why do you think that is? Oh, I'm doing okay, thank you.
I'll go ahead and read it for everybody out there so
Oh,
they
okay,
know.
okay, yeah,
It
go
says,
go ahead.
Johnny, listen. For the past 2 days, I had a guy from Gaza
Mm-hmm.
in my hangout. Okay. And he's been ranting about killing Jews.
Okay.
Keep going, Benny.
Oh, I know
And
who
the
he's talking
Islamic
about.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He's been talking about Islamic stuff and killing Jews. All right. So I gotta. Okay. His username was ABC. He had no avatar.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Someone gotta mute me. Hold on. I think that's
Yeah, I
a,
think it's
a
peripheral. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's okay.
So
He had no avatar, yeah, and then
all right. So yeah, he had no avatar. Sorry. Okay.
and he said
And
his
he said his brother was Mosul.
was in
Oh,
Mosul.
was in Mosul, Iraq. Okay. Fighting for ISIS.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And his older brother died in a suicide attack in Israel. Oh, that sounds crazy, man.
Yeah.
I mean, so, I mean, what do you think, Johnny? I mean, okay, he said, oh, the hangout was live. All right, so, essentially, Johnny, he's saying for the past 2 days, he had a guy from Gaza in his hangout who had been ranting about killing Jews and Islamic stuff. Said his brother was in Mosul, Iraq, fighting for ISIS, and his older brother died in a suicide
And he was
attack.
boasting about it.
Yeah, yeah,
In the hangout, he was
essentially,
boasting about that. He was
yes,
calling
yeah.
it
Benny
good,
says, yeah.
praising it. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, that's it. I mean, this is the trend that we see right now, and more Muslims, even those who were calm, we will see these now coming out bit by bit as they reveal their true Islamic nature. You see, this is the thing, and this is, of course, what many people don't want to see still. And this is what in Germany, for example, we have, of course, one of my heroes is Geert Wilders. I don't know whether many of you, but hopefully you will hear the name today, Geert Wilders. It's one of my favorite people. He has his Freedom Party in Holland, and hopefully he'll get the numbers this time, that he'll get elected, so he can take care of Islamic, and I say specifically Islamic Muslim immigration, because that is a huge problem. Okay, so that's the thing. And then of course we in Germany we have the various Gidas. We have Nugida, Pegida, Bagida. For every province there is one. Gida being against the Islamization of the Western nations. That's what it means. These are German acronyms. I won't go into that right now, but just that you know that these are unions that are being formed against Islam. But unfortunately, though, these parties are being, you know, I sometimes even think that the government sneaks in Nazi-minded people from time to time to get them into prominent positions so they can discredit the whole party. I think that is even organized by some people in the government who do not want these anti-Islamic parties to rise. Because indeed, Lutz Bachmann, for example, he did. Now I confirmed this. He had these Nazi-like tendencies, but it could be that the government deliberately chose him to be the leader of that party so that the whole party would look bad. Fortunately, of course, he is not part of the party now, and people are still managing it somehow. Hopefully that would continue now, because these people overall despise the Nazis. Pegida despises Nazis, at least the current speakers do. They don't want anything to do with the neo-Nazis. They don't want anything to do with the Nazis. In fact, they despise Nazis as much as the Muslims, which I personally, I would say, I mean, I would the Muslim ideology, Islam, I would despise it even more than the Nazi ideology, to be honest with you. But that is another story. Now back to the issue here. Preaching Sean, what do you think? And have you noticed that even in the United States, the politicians, they praise satirical magazines when they criticize Islam or any other religion for that matter. But when I do it, or when you do it as the common man, then they all of a sudden have a problem and they start to mock you and put you down.
You know, it's hard to say because depending on what part of the world you're in, you're going to get a bit of a different reaction. I mean, you know, over in the United States, you know, it's pretty commonplace for people to just think, you know, view Islam synonymously with like the word terrorism for the most part.
Oh,
And of
interesting.
course, we know that's not accurate, but that's kind of the picture that's painted over here. And so
But that is
a lot of
awesome.
people come out and speak anything against Islam over here. It's actually seems like they don't really make a big issue out of it, unless you're coming from maybe a you know, theological standpoint where you're trying to, you know, hold hands with everybody and have a dialogue.
Oh, interesting. So you say that in America, really the common people understand that Islam or equate Islam directly with terrorism. Is that the case? That the majority does that in America? The people? Because
So that's
certainly,
been that's been my experience. Anybody else from the U.S. can chime in on this, but that's kind of like for just the uneducated kind of layman person, they would probably have a tendency to view those two the same, I would think.
man, then the rumors that America is uneducated, I would have to take them back. I would say that they are extremely educated because Muhammad himself said, I have been made victorious through terror. So Islam is nothing but a terroristic religion from the beginning to end. Only, of course, it does it in a very, there's a scheme of how to do it. But Islam is the religion of terror, the ideology of terror. Okay? So, I mean, the Americans are smart. I hope, if that is the case, that these people would come to the forefront and they would make that public in the news so that the whole world can hear this. Because I want the Germans to say the same. If
Well,
every German now said Islam is a religion of terror, I would dance. I would dance together with them. I would go on the streets right now and I would have a dance. It would be the happiest day of my life if that ever happened here.
Well, okay, it kind of depends too on what interpretation of the Quran you're going to come to this with, because if you interpret it one way, you could say that that, you know, that people who are doing violent acts in the name of Islam are not following the true teachings. But then I've also heard the flip side where they say that the Muslims who are not doing those kind of acts in this world are not doing what the Quran says to do. So it really comes down first and foremost to what your interpretation of the Quran is going to be, and you know, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, thank you, Big Joe. Well, I've made many other videos exposing this and showing that the whole historical pattern, it's not only the Quran. If you go to the Hadith, the biography of Muhammad, and you put it all together, you're really left with no option if you read it from an objective point to say that as soon as Muhammad got the power, he went on an offensive jihad, meaning he gave the people the option, yeah, you submit, the Jews and Christians that is only, to our system of law. All the others, you either convert to Islam or we're going to put you to the sword after having invited you, and if you don't accept it, that's it for you. So this is also laid out in Surah 9. That's the historical context. Surah 9, if you read that, that's the second last surah, the final instruction surah of commandments chapter in the Quran. That is for all times to come, which abrogates all the previous verses. And this is really what Islam is all about. That's why in Islam, you wait until you're in power, then you invite people to Islam. If they don't accept, then you put them to the sword. That's the standard classical understanding of the Quran. That's the historical context of the Quran in which those verses are revealed, and all that goes along with it as well. So there's really no denying this when it comes to Islam. And then, of course, on top of it, Islam is the most antichrist religion on the planet, because I've heard of no other religion say that if you believe Jesus is the Son of God, may Allah destroy you, or may you burn in hell forever for saying that, because that, according to Islam, is the one unforgivable sin to associate partners supposedly with Allah, to say that Jesus is the Son of Allah. So that's why, and we see this trend, the more antichrist a religion is, the more practically violent it also becomes. I see this is a clear-cut pattern in the planet, or on the planet, I should say. But that being said, that is really for another hangout. Here, I just want to stick with the issue. Why is it that politicians have a double standard? That, for example, a satirical magazine, at least here in Europe, when they make fun of religions, when they make fun of any ideology, even the Roman Catholic, let's say, when they make fun of the Pope, okay, then there's no problem. When they make fun of Islam, well, then okay, then they even go, the same people will praise them, will mourn their death. But then when I come along and I do the same, I go out in the street, I make a satirical picture of Muhammad, I draw him not even naked, but I just a bomb stabbed on his head, okay, or just him next to Aisha, who was 9 years old, them walking next to each other, just alluding to perhaps a romantic relationship between the two, which is disgusting, really. But be that as it may, if I do that and I do it as a satire, showing how disgusting of a guy he was, then all of a sudden the same people are going to put me down to the point of trying to sue me for mocking a religion and kind of a defaming or putting down the Muslims. And this is what I find very, very strange, very annoying, very hypocritical, and really disgusting behavior. So this is what I want to address. Faithful, do you have any questions at this point? Because I want to have some input from you too as we go along.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it's an interesting topic, man. Like yeah. Um, to be honest, like while I would say that there is somewhat of a double standard in regards to the way that you know I don't know, man. I do see the double standard, Johnny. I see what you're saying. Um, but I just think that there are far worse things to talk about concerning Islam than just talking about satire.
No, of course, bro. We'll continue doing that, but this also needs to be addressed because I want to be able to mock anybody. In fact, I want to be able to mock the Pope, to tell you out front. If I'm in the mood to call him a fish head,
let me see if I'm understanding this right. Okay, so
what you're saying, oh, the fish head, something like that.
So, hold on. So let me see if I'm understanding you correctly.
Mm-hmm.
What you're essentially saying is, you got me off guard with that one. Oh man, you caught me off guard, bro. Hold up.
Oh, right. It's good. I got you in the mood. Okay.
So, hey, let me tell you something. Hey, Perfume, man. We got to get we gotta get Nephilim Free in here, man. Nephilim Free kills the fish jokes. Oh man, is Neph online? I want to get Neph in here. But yeah, Johnny, here's the thing. I just want to see if I'm understanding you. So in other words,
yeah,
you're saying. Well, actually, what are you saying? Because I'm trying to get to the bottom of this. I'm trying to understand.
I'm saying
what your qualms are with this.
Yeah, my qualms are the following: when a satirical organization, okay, that is established, that has enough money, that people know, when they make fun of various religions, doesn't even have to be Islam only. Could be Roman Catholicism, could be Christianity in general, could be Jesus Christ himself. Which of course hurts me a lot, and it hurts my Christian brothers and sisters too. But we can take that, okay. But be that as it may, they can make all that fun, They can mock, they can insult in the worst possible, what we consider very, very insulting, very, very hurtful. But they can do all that, and politicians are just gonna not only protect them, but they're gonna praise them. They're gonna especially come over. When some of those get hurt, they will fly.
Them being the people making the cartoonists making the satire.
Yes, exactly. They established satirical magazines like Charlie Hebdo, for example. You see, then nobody has a problem. These politicians will actually go to great lengths to support them, to help them, to even mourn their death. Fly thousands of miles over to mourn their death. But when do you think that if somebody like me did a satire tomorrow that they'll mourn their death? These guys will spit on them.
I mean, Johnny, to be honest, this is a weird subject matter because, for example, when that French magazine or newspaper, it was a newspaper, right? When they made their satire and those terrorists went over there and
Mhm.
killed those people,
Mhm.
they were immediately arrested. Well, they were after they were caught and they were demonized. I mean, nobody sat there and said, "Oh no, this is just a good thing," or no.
Right,
They
right.
so I mean, there was a backlash associated with that. I mean, even I mean, everybody was talking about it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just don't get where you're going with this. I mean,
I'm gonna, yeah, everybody felt for Charlie Hebdo, right? Everybody sympathized with Charlie Hebdo. So much and so forth that they went to their deaths. People whom they personally didn't even know. But they still feel so sorry for them that they had to visit their graves even. All of the politicians along with them. But when somebody like me, if I can guarantee you, if I drew a picture of Muhammad tomorrow, if I mock Muhammad and that Muslim slits my throat, everybody's just gonna say he deserved it. Johnny, if you're gonna do these things, well then your throat is gonna be slit. What do you expect? You get it now? You get
you're
what I'm
saying that,
saying?
in other words, you're saying that if it would have been a Christian, first of all, okay,
No,
so you're
if it would
saying,
have not even a Christian, the common guy, just a common Joe down the street, not even a Christian. If somebody, the common guy who's not well known, okay, whether he's Christian or not, if he did something like that, what Charlie Hebdo did to Muhammad, and then a Muslim killed him or just knocked him to the floor and beat him green, blue, and what have you, and left him there, the next day, people would find him, would say, so what do you expect if you insult a Muslim? You get me now?
Johnny, people, hold on a second. I mean, is everybody following this? I mean, I mean, am I the only
Hey,
one
but
that's
if you
not?
do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying now?
I mean, I do, but then I don't. I mean, I see what you're kind of saying, but then
I'm
it's like,
saying when the elite does something, then everybody kisses their behind. Then everybody says,
in other words, nobody had a problem with that magazine making satire until the terrorists went and killed those cartoonists, and then it became an issue.
no, no, nobody had a problem. Okay, yeah, of course nobody had a problem, but that's not the thing. What I'm saying is when terrorists attacked Charlie Hebdo, everybody said Charlie Hebdo was in the right. They have the right to do this. They sympathize with them to the utmost.
Hmm.
Nobody said, okay, well, I understand the terrorists broke the law, so we have to put them in prison, no doubt. But still, what you did, Charlie Hebdo, is disgusting. What you did with Muhammad is disgusting. They never said that. Nobody even hinted at that.
Hmm.
Do you get it now? But when I or you, when we as common people do that, when we insult Muhammad, those same people, those big politicians, do you think they are going to put us down? They're not going to respect us, even if the Muslims harm us. They're going
Yeah.
to say, well, they deserve that. Why didn't they?
Yeah.
You see?
All right then, brother. Periphery. I know you got to run because I know it's your birthday. All right.
Got it
God
now?
bless, bro.
Hey, God bless you, bro. Yeah, so you got that, Faithful, now? Or do I have to explain it again?
No, I mean, I kind of get it, but I mean, what you're saying is that the common
Okay.
guy, in other words, okay,
Mm-hmm.
can you repeat that last part? Because I was kind of distracted.
I said, yeah, the common guy like you and me, when we insult Muhammad, then the politicians are not going to be on our side and say, uh, okay, we're going to come and visit you, man. You're hurt. Bring us flowers in the hospital when we have been beaten by the Muslims. Man, this should have never happened. The terrorists, we're going to catch them. No. Then they're going to say, well, these guys deserved it. Why did they insult the Muslims? You see? Why did they insult the Prophet of the Muslims?
I mean, that's just weird, man. I mean, because I mean, that's like saying, well, if the common man insults Christianity or something like that, it's like, I mean,
Yeah, if he insulted Roman in Germany, for example, if somebody insulted Roman Catholicism as a common, I don't know how they.
I think it might be different because over there in Germany, because that kind of thing doesn't. I mean, what you're talking about really doesn't take place over here. I don't think.
Okay, you're saying
I
that
don't
in
know.
America, if you in America, if you went in the street
Let
right
me
now,
let me let's get preaching Sean. Uh, where you live, at least in the state that you live in, do you see that kind of thing?
Yeah, well, what he's talking about is he's talking about kind of the double standard that's being shown, and let's see where I am. Uh, No, there's not really. Where I live, I don't really see any outcry against anybody saying or really doing anything negative about Islam because, um, because uh, in the United States, it's more of a, it's certainly more of a Christian environment than an Islamic one for sure. So you're not going to hear about that, and if you do hear about it, you would probably have to be in some of the more Islamic areas. So yeah,
Well,
from where I am,
put it this
I
way,
don't see
Preacher
any
Sean.
favoritism.
Would you say that we're sympathetic towards Islam in this country?
Uh, to a degree, I think. I mean, I don't think they get any special treatment. I think that faith is just about as sympathetic in this country as they are to any other faith.
Well, I've heard people say different. For Von Helton said me that they made special foot washing places at the airport for the Muslims that they didn't make for any other religion, so that they could wash their feet during their 5 daily prayers. They made special
Now,
arrangements.
see, the thing is that that'd be fine, Johnny. The only problem is that because of the way that you kind of structured the topic of this particular hangout, you kind of structured it in a way that we're just talking about the satire and things like that. I think it would have, I think we should be talking more about Islam as a whole and that kind of thing because
No, we shouldn't be
it,
talking about only Islam
it's
because
too boxed in when you talk about the satire because that's what's kind of throwing me off because I'm trying to.
no, because satire is a right. You see, that's what we have to protect that right. We have to protect the right of satire in the West for every individual, not just for somebody who has enough money to do it. For example, if I want to make fun of the Pope today, I should be allowed to go in public and do it without any fear of repercussion. You see? And if anybody wants to physically assault me, the police should be fully on my side. They should slam that person to the floor and say, hey, Johnny has every right to mock the Pope. Even, maybe we don't agree with him ideologically, but that's his problem. He has every right to do so. Things like that.
Now, conversely, do you believe that the atheists, and I'm not taking the atheist side with this, I'm just,
Go ahead.
just simply put it out there. Do you agree that the atheists have a right to mock Christianity?
Yes, absolutely do, because that is what freedom of speech is. That is what freedom of speech is. And we can take it. That's the thing. I, as a Christian, I can take it. There is no reason for us Christians to make laws against it. In fact, that would hinder them to come to Christ if we ever did that. That is the most dangerous thing ever when we introduce blasphemy laws like we have done in the past. That is one thing that I absolutely disagree with. Let the atheists mock in public how much ever they want. It would be a sad thing. We would definitely not feel good about it, but we have to take it. It's a must.
Yeah, I tell you what, when it comes to people's ability to be able, or not ability, but I should say rather their right or freedom to mock and say things like that, I say people should go for it simply for the fact that, or that we should allow that simply for the fact that, God allows people to do that. God allows people to blaspheme His name and do this thing and do all kinds of this stuff. So I figured if it was something so important for it to be shut up, that God would be doing something about it. And the fact that He's not at this moment in time would incline me to just follow His lead.
Yeah, exactly. The new covenant, we don't see such any example. God has, in fact, that's why we call it the grace period. That until Christ comes back, we are not gonna avenge God, so to speak, when somebody blasphemes Him by engaging in physical force against somebody. That's why we have the freedom of expression in the United States Constitution. So if anybody wants to mock or insult Christianity, as bad as that is, it should only make us feel sad for the person. Okay? And yeah, for sure, we could be angry if he exaggerates. That would definitely make me angry. But I'm gonna strike back with words. I'm gonna use arguments. I'm gonna use powerful arguments. I'm not gonna say, hey, now we gotta sue them. Now we gotta use the law. Now we gotta beat them up. No, that kind of behavior is just, then we would be no different than what the Muslims do.
So Johnny, I gotta ask you, did you have a personal experience in regards to this topic?
No, I myself had not had such an and not in real life though, but of course I did experience. I did talk to different people on the Hangouts, and or not only on the Hangouts, but I remember it also that there were people in Europe discussing this, especially David Cameron. He mentioned some things because in England, if you say something against Islam, it's actually so bad it falls under hate speech. If you insult Muhammad, they can sue you for hate speech. In other words, they'll kind of cloak it. They'll say you're inciting violence. They'll connect it to inciting violence, although there's no connection and there should be none, because then they could just say, well, Charlie Hebdo was inciting violence by making satirical cartoons about Muhammad. And that's exactly the point. And that's what they're trying to do here in Germany as well. You know, if there's not these Pegida and other parties, if they don't succeed, if they don't get enough people, then our government might just introduce these that you can't speak out against Muhammad. For example, you can't even say something as factual as Muhammad is a pedophile, simply because Muslims find it offensive, even though it is the truth. By definition, he was. And yet we won't be able to say it because the Muslim won't like it. These kind of things. So, did you have any other question for me?
Not me.
What about you, Faithful? You got it now, didn't you, Faithful?
Oh, yep. Yeah, but I don't have any questions. You know.
Okay, but now you did understand.
Benny's
No,
got a question.
I do understand
Yeah.
now that you kind of explained it a little bit better. 'Cause I'm gonna be honest because this is I don't know, you know, it's but I definitely see how, you know, this can be by the way, let me no, Benny's writing here. What is Benny saying? He says I have a
he's
question.
asking me
Are you half German?
Yes, I am. I'm a half Pakistani and half German.
Yeah, your mother's German and your father's
Yes.
from Pakistan, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And you're a
Well,
former
Benny,
Muslim,
Benny thinks that's cool.
right?
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, this is the thing, and this is what is really. I would prefer if the father was German. Okay. Yeah.
Why? Why?
Because maybe he thinks that then my father would have be the first. He would have brought my mom over from Pakistan over to Christianity, or from his perspective, I would guess just to accept the Western values. You know, I think that's what.
Yeah, I hear you, man. But yeah, as you were saying, as far as you know, what do you say? Because the father is the dominant genes. Bob Marley is 75% white. What? What does this have to do with anything, Benny? I'm like, what does this have to do with anything?
Yeah, he's
It's
just
like
he's
so
just
random.
Okay. I know
Right.
he likes to crack jokes from time to time.
Right? Like, this is like so random out of the blue, man. This man. Like, we're over here talking
That's what
about
makes it funny.
we're over here talking about satire and magazines, and he's talking about Bob Marley 75%. Oh man.
Yep.
All
So,
right, man. It's a slow day at the office, guys.
So what was that, Faithful? What did you want to say?
Huh? What I want to say about what?
You wanted to ask me something right before that.
No, I was just saying to keep going. Like you just keep bringing it out, man. Keep talking about it.
All right. Well, like I said, this is something that needs to stop, and I want to see if you happen to know, because I know you live in the United States, but let's say something like that happened in the United States. Let's say Obama, because I think Obama is on the way of doing this. He's already saying Islam is a religion of peace. He's already going in that direction, that people should not go and lash out against Islam. Now, let's say one day Obama makes a law saying that if you mock Muhammad, you're actually inciting the Muslims to violence, and that falls under that is against. That's not freedom of speech anymore. What would you do then? Would that really tick you off?
I'm sorry, you kind of cut out a little bit at the end. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I said, let's say Obama one day he made a law. He's already coming close. He says, if you mock Muhammad, you would actually be inciting the Muslims to violence, and that goes against freedom of speech. Would that tick you off?
Yeah, I'd feel like yeah, because it definitely would make me feel a certain way. Absolutely.
Would that be a time when there would be close to a civil war going on over there?
Well, I don't know if it would be well, actually, you know what? That's an interesting one. What do you think, Sean? You think it would be? You think we get to the? I wouldn't say. Yeah, well, you think there'd be like riots?
Riots in regards to what?
Well, in other words,
Regards
if
to freedom of
Obama were to say that if you say anything about the Muslims, can you repeat the?
If you
Can you repeat
say something bad about Muhammad, that is inciting the Muslims to violence, so you can't do that anymore. It's not part of freedom of speech anymore.
Do you think that if that were instituted as a law, would it incite riots? Do you think people would be so appalled and upset at that law that they would? I couldn't see that. As liberal as the United States is, as much as much as people get away with doing things here, and like it's almost like anything goes at this point. I don't think anybody would really be. I mean, I wouldn't say there'd be people who would be upset, obviously, but not to the point of like they're gonna riot or anything like that. No.
Yeah, but this is the First Amendment that's being attacked. This is not some little bitty law. This is
Yeah,
the
but you also have to keep in mind that this country has become so liberal and so, yeah. I mean, nobody's gonna say any.
So
They're
you
not. I
mean
mean,
that the
they're gonna
First
be people.
Amendment?
Well, I mean, let me put it this way: there would be silent not silent protests. What do you call it? Non-violent protests. There'd be that kind of thing, or it'd be people.
So
You
then, what
probably
would
get
cause a
people who
civil war? What would cause people to take up their guns in the United States, if not that?
taking away their guns.
Taking away their guns. Okay, well, that's
Taking
kind
away
of
their
happening
guns.
also.
Then
Yeah,
that would cause.
that's kind of also happening.
I was going to say it's not so much whether or not things are being taken from the First Amendment or things like that. It's basically whether or not, as soon as a law affects a person personally, then they're going to begin to care about it. But as long as it doesn't affect you personally, even if it's out of the First Amendment or not, I don't think the majority of people would care about that. It's it's just when it hits home that's when people begin to care.
Yeah, but doesn't that unite people emotionally? The First and Second Amendments, in specific, isn't that the one thing that unites America?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Oh, it's sad that it comes
Over here, what unites people is sports and
Right. Sports.
and maybe money.
Right.
Well, that's kind of sad to hear, though. I mean, I do understand that sports on the entertainment, but I thought that was on the kind of like in the sense of more like humorous uniting. But the serious uniting, I think that because we still see Americans, they get together, when it comes to the First and Second Amendment. That's something that most Americans, as far as I've seen, that they take that very seriously. But maybe if you're saying that not, then that gives me all the more reason to worry. If that's now come to the point that even that's not the case anymore. And see, this is the thing, really. This is what this hangout really is about. I want to touch really on those points. That what is freedom of speech now? Is freedom of speech only something really that applies? Because like I said, here in Europe, freedom of speech does seem to apply to established satirical magazines. In other words, to elitists who have mustered up enough money, have gained enough connections over the years, have made a name for themselves, that they not only would they not be going against the law if they insult Muhammad in the worst possible manner, which, okay, fine, but which otherwise if a common man would do, then it would be the same would be considered hate speech. Now, why do you think David Cameron didn't go over there and say what Charlie Hebdo actually did was hate speech? Why didn't he say that? There was not one word from him saying that. Why was he that inconsistent? Nobody dared to, in fact. Not just David. Obama didn't do it either. Merkel didn't do it. Nobody called that hate speech, or hate drawings, or drawings that incite hatred. You see? Nothing of the sort. Yeah, just give me a moment, bro. So, any take on that preaching, Sean? Does anything come to mind why that may be so?
Nope.
Oh, Benny is stating, you know George Galloway. Yeah, I do. I have also, for a short while, I was actually a fan of his. I think that was when I was a Quran-only Muslim, about 4 or 5 years ago. For a short time, I was actually becoming a fan of George Galloway's. But now, of course, I see him as a big-time... I don't want to say it because Brother Faithful asked me not to, but he is a disaster. Let me just put it that way. That guy is a disaster. And I've also heard recently that he has actually become a Muslim. He's not directly stated that, but he has actually become a Muslim himself. So obviously, he would be defending Palestine.
Hey, Johnny, I got a question for you.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So, what would it take to get you to become a Muslim?
Right now,
Yes.
I don't see anything. Nothing. I mean, the last thing that I would do is become a Muslim. I would become a Nazi before I become a Muslim. Let me put it that way.
I guess let me rephrase the question a different way. What do you find hard to believe that Islam is true?
I mean, almost everything is as a perversion of Christianity. For example, it borrows from Gnosticism. We know that's a known heresy of Christianity. Ebionitism, we know that's a known heresy that has been debunked throughout the ages. It goes completely against the historical record that we know, for example, Jesus being crucified, which nobody denies, including the agnostics. Islam denies that, saying that it wasn't really Jesus. It was somebody else was substituted. Make up some bogus claim without any hint, any historical document from that time period showing that. Any of the apostles saying, "Oh, Christ, you were saved from the cross? You didn't really die on the cross, Jesus Christ?" Yes, didn't you know? Allah saved me. Nothing. But that's what the Muslims believe. You see,
Sounds good.
It's absurd.
Yeah, I just figured I'd ask that because if we have any Muslims watching the broadcast, that's probably might be watching through their head is why doesn't this guy trust in the Quran? Why what possible objections would he have to it? So you laid out a few there. I'll tell you an interesting story I had. I was out doing some evangelism one day and I came to this one woman's door and she was a Muslim lady that I was talking to her, and I told her this. I said, okay, well, because I had mentioned about Jesus being crucified, and she's like, oh well, I don't believe that, and I knew why she didn't believe it, and I said, okay, well, here's what you got to do, because you got the Quran over here that says that Jesus was not crucified, and then you've got the Bible over here that says that Jesus was crucified. What I recommend that you do is I recommend you put both accounts aside and don't regard either one of them and just look at secular history and see what it tells you about an individual named Jesus being crucified. And I didn't push her forward with anybody with that, but that's kind of one of the things that I really think that people should do for an issue just like that, because if because history does have something to say about that, even when you discount both sides, and I think anybody who's honestly looking for that answer should take such an approach.
Okay. Yeah, and also the Quran, of course, it goes against itself because the Quran actually, the Muslims will always say for example, the Bible has been corrupted, but first of all, the Quran affirms that the previous revelations were from Allah, but then the Quran further says that Allah's words cannot be changed. And then on top of it, the Quran says, let the people of the gospel judge by what Allah has revealed therein. And in no other place does the Quran ever say that the Torah and the gospel have been corrupted. Now it does talk about the book that certain Jewish people wrote, and that they have called to be from Allah, but when it actually wasn't, according to the Quran. That's a different story. But it never states that the Torah and the Injil themselves were corrupted. In fact, in one account of Muhammad, he himself put his hand, filthy as it was, but he put it on the Torah, and he said, I swear by you and the one who revealed you. That's what Muhammad said. But then the Muslims will make some other excuses, say, oh, well, he just respected. Well, then he was even more of a scumbag, if that's the case. If he actually just did that to appease the Jews, where he actually knew full well that this is a corrupted book, that would make Islam and Muhammad even look more like a joke. So no matter how you put it, the more Muslims start to defend Islam, the more actually, if you break it down, the more silly it looks. Okay, so from all angles, one should be able to see that Islam is problematic. But yeah, I've discussed that in many hangouts. I'm gonna have to now. We're coming towards the end now. I just hope that people will see how inconsistent our politicians are, and that they would wake up, especially in the United States, that they would never allow them to make excuses to try to diminish the First Amendment right of people, which allows them to make mockery and satire of any ideology. Okay, that doesn't just go for Islam. It would go for Roman Catholicism. It would go for us Protestants. It would go for the Buddhists, for the Hindus, for anybody. Okay, this is a fundamental right, and anybody who uses violence, if somebody attacks the Bible, mocks the Bible, and I start to punch them in the face, then I am the scumbag. Then I am the one who needs to be knocked down to the floor. You see, this is how it works. The Bible is very dear to me. Nothing is more dear to me than of course, number one, God, but here on earth, His Word, the Bible, the written Word, the inspired Word of God. No human being is as close to me. But yet, this is the law, and this is how it must be. And this is also how people would be. We have seen that this is the best system that will make us preach the gospel, and people will be coming to Christ, because people find the gospel offensive, but they still have to take it according to the law. So with that being said, folks, I hope to see you again. Take care.